So welcome to part 2 of my conversation with the owners and founders of Course Communication, Dan Cronin, Rob Molinaro. So Dan and Rob, thanks so much for being in this conversation. We're going to talk about the two of you now, the people behind the magic, the warriors of Course Communication and technology consultancy world. First of all, let's have a little fun here. You two have known each other since high school. I would love for you to describe each other. So Rob, I'm going to start with you. Describe Dan for me. Who is he as a partner, a friend? What comes to mind when you think of Dan?
Well, you're right, Gene, about one thing that we met each other in high school, actually freshman homeroom. So it goes back to the beginning, Dan's always been the guy, he's always been the part of this relationship personally and professionally that absolutely has a phenomenal skill set of knowing how to rally people. He knows how to bring people together. He knows how to touch on people's personal heartstrings. It's absolutely a skill set that I don't have. I mean, I'm okay at it, but Danny excels at it. So, that's carried us through to this point, for example, where we're still on group video chats and texts with 9 of our best buddies in high school, just as of yesterday. So a lot of that groundwork, a lot of that foundation is set and is nurtured by Dan.
Very nice. All right, Dan, describe Rob for me.
Here's how I would describe this, Gene. Does that icon mean anything to you?
That's yin and yang.
There you go. You nailed it. I don't know which one of us is the yin and which one of us is the yang, but that is a great way to illustrate the way we really operate, because we've been told that. In fact, actually, we were told that by you a long time ago, that, if you think about a partnership and you think about whether it's a marriage or it's a personal partnership, or as it started out with us, Rob sat behind me in freshman year of homeroom. You might not realize it back in 1981, 38 years ago, if my math is right, when we first met. You don't realize the yin and the yang and the fact that you really are working together. I mean, we worked together at Paramus Park, Red Cross Shoes, as stock boys together. I don't remember what year. That had to be maybe junior year of high school. Then we moved together to Philadelphia in '89. And we lived together, we worked together, we worked out together, we shared groceries, we pretty much ate the same meals. We didn't realize it, but looking back, what we had was a methodology that was so powerful that now it's no surprise when we look back, like to Rob's point, what he's awesome at, I'm not awesome at it. But as long as he's awesome, the net sum of it is also awesome.
Right.
So that's the yin and the yang, and I think he's being a little hard on himself. I think that his interpersonal communication skills and networking and great heart have absolutely come to the table, and in a weird way over the last 25 years at least, I think him and I have both come a little bit more to the middle, where I've actually taken on a lot of his qualities and maybe he's taken on some of my qualities. And again, it's that yin and the yang. There's no question in my mind that anybody who you would interview that did business with Chorus for 25, 30 years, the one thing they probably could say is, boy, the two of those guys together, it's a perfect combination, because there's a trust that you don't find very often. There's no power struggle. There's a transparency between us. And Jeannie, you know this better than anybody. That's a lot of times the stuff that makes partnerships start to crumble.
Right. Yeah, I want to talk about that because, a lot of people that are listening to this might be founders of startups themselves or considering creating foundational partnerships. Why did the two of you, was there a key conversation or a big aha that the two of you said, well, you're looking at each other going, that's it, we should be in partnership in business together? Tell me about that moment. Take me back.
You want? I'll take that, Dan.
Yeah.
So I can give you the dates. This time, 26 years ago, plus, June 1st, June 1st of 1989 is when we came to Philadelphia. But this time, 26 years ago, Dan and I were working for another company, the only other technology company we ever worked for prior to Chorus. There was a stint somewhere else there. But, you know, what we realized is that Dan and I, again, we were both working in different facets of the company and running different sales processes within that company, product-wise, right? We grew the company from 2 locations to 19 by the time we were done. And quite frankly, him and I were leading that. We're leading that charge. So we understood how to work in unison with one another. We used technology at that time also to manage the people below us, right? And we took a lot of that technology and use it, of course, even at this given age. But, you know, we decided that, look, Dan, you know what? We could do this. And that began the coffee sessions in the afternoon with a laptop and a CompUSA Biz startup software package that I pulled off the shelf.
Oh, wow. That's very cool, Rob.
That's where it all started.
A gateway laptop computer too, right, Rob? That's no longer even available.
Oh my God.
Right.
So let's talk about this. So I want you to just take a step back. Let's just mentally play with this. We're looking at the last 26 years. What are the top few pivotal moments? Was it like first 18 months, first 5 years? Like, what are the pivotal moments when you think about that 26-year history that come to your mind? Dan, you go first.
Pivotal were and again, it goes back to these core beliefs. It was confidence, and it was a belief factor. Remember what I said about what separates the impossible from the possible was the quality of the man's determination. There was determination in Rob. Rob was the kind of the one who was really first to say, let's do this. And I'm trying to be diplomatic how I put this, but you know, my father was very scared for me to make this move, and he felt that this was not a good move. And I was not in a financial position to go and start an entrepreneurial venture, but the belief factor was so strong. One of the things that Rob and I had always done, we were always a package deal. When we came to Philly and worked for that other company, they actually, it was always this way. But they actually at first didn't want to hire Rob, and I had just moved to Philly to take the management position of that company. And instinctually, I said to them, I think I was 23 years old at the time, I said, well, if you don't hire him, I'm not coming. And it was just like, who says that at 23 years old? And that's not something that one would say, but there was such a confidence that if this is going to work, I have to have Rob with me on this. And that theory has been proven over and over and over. And I think people out in the business world who do business with Chorus, vis-a-vis the Rob and Dan equation, they know that we're going to edify each other. We're going to stick with each other. So,
one of the things you just hit on that made me reflect, and then Rob, I'd love to hear your point of view. You both have a very strong alignment to your why, to your mission, to your purpose. It isn't about the products. It isn't about the technology solutions necessarily. That to me, sort of the byproduct of your partnership, of your belief system is your why. What you're trying to put out into the world is your why. And you're really aligned with that. And I think that is something that you can't manufacture. You could go work for anybody and produce and sell what they're serving up. But those that are most successful are aligned with their mission, their value, and their purpose. And that's what I hear from the two of you. So Rob, what have been sort of your top pivotal moments over the 26-year history of Chorus Communication? What's coming to mind?
I'm going to give you the top one, Jane.
All right.
We started in 1995 as a company. We grew from 3 employees in the 300 square feet that was triangular to we had over 100 employees by the time the year 2000 came about. Let me give you a pivotal moment. Carriers, providers were making some aggressive changes, and they decided to inflict change on us. So make a long story short, we had to go from 100 salaried employees in 3 states, 4 locations, and we had to unwind every single location, and we had to unfortunately let go of every single employee to the point where it was only Dan and I back in 2002. Now think about that. Think about that. So if you want to talk about resiliency, and if you want to talk about staying power, I mean, Dan and I, we literally had it down to a point, Gene, where we were broadcast faxing all of our furniture and appliances and utilities within our companies so companies can come in and buy them.
Wow.
Now, we had customers come in, I'll never forget this, I'll say this real quick, who responded to a fax broadcast and said, hey, I want to come in, I want to buy your 6 cubicles. And I'll never forget the gentleman, he pushed on me. I mean, we were giving it away, a dime on the dollar, Gene. He pushed on me, and I let him have it, because what are we going to do? Our goal was just to get rid of it. We needed to reboot, right? And 2 years later, that gentleman, unfortunately, went out of business. But what Dan and I did, we took what we knew. We took what was within our DNA, and we said, we're not going to let this beat us. And we changed and shifted the methodology of our company in technology and went to this master agency model that we're in today. And we essentially rallied all those strong relationships we had, and we were able to maintain those, Gene, even through that difficult time, and excel the company. So that's my threshold moment. I'll never forget that day, you know, those days. And if we, Dan and I, can get through that, you know, I think anybody can get through challenges, even like the challenges we're having today. This is nothing compared to that.
Wow.
No, that was definitely a little emotional, by the way, because those were tough days. Those were tough days. And, you know, what I would say the operative word was determination and belief. And it bonds you, you know? And you have to have a game plan.
Gene, that's why, Danny, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I want to just give an affirmation of what you're saying right now, because I definitely feel you. Gene, when people say to me and Dan, I can't, you don't want to say that to us. You don't want to say to him and I can't because you can. You can. You can. People got to believe in themselves first and foremost. And the thing that Dan and I did back then, and I still believe in this philosophy today, and I would tell this to anybody personally and professionally, live and work within your means. The times you get in trouble is when you overextend, you don't focus and understand where you are. And don't allow greed to get in your way. Live within your means. If you live within your means, you're never going to see harm.
You know, just to that point, I want to unpack something. I am curious. How do you both solve disagreements when you don't have kumbaya, when you don't have alignment, when you're both not focused on either a goal or an approach to something? What do?
You let it go.
I hear a lot of situations. I have a dear colleague who coaches a lot of founders of startups, and she sees over half of those partnerships dissolve. So I would love for you two to share wisdom. How do you solve disagreements?
You let it go. If one of the partners, this is the way I look at it with Dan, if I know he's more, if he's more knowledge set, right, on a particular topic, I let it go. I'm not gonna, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna interfere with that because I'm not the expert in that silo. I let it go.
So
it's not easy, Gene. It's
Yeah.
not easy to let things go. Let me tell you, it's not easy. But sometimes you got to let it go and think to yourself, what's the worst that can happen from this? If you're okay with that worst case scenario, then you move on. That's the advice.
How I would answer that, Gene, is that, again, this is something that you don't realize it in the moment, but when you look back, when Rob and I had disagreements, and we've had as massive as disagreements as you could have in 26 plus years, but there was always an openness in the communication, a mutual respect for each other's kind of heartfelt determination, right? I think another way of saying what Rob's saying about skill sets is, he might see that I was real passionate about something, and he would be passionate as well. And there were times where I was scale of 1 to 10, 10 passionate, and he was scale of 1 to 10 passionate and completely opposed. We would have conflict, and we would step back from that and let a day or two go by. And what would always happen with us is we would always be able to come to some, let's kind of not meet in the middle, but just a mutual respect for each other. And I got to tell you, there was times where, looking back, thank God we did it that way, because he was right, and there was times when I was right. And the point is that we both approach these problems knowing that nobody's always right. And again, that personality trait is kind of exuded to the conversations we have with our teams, and exuded to the conversations we have with our clients. But going back to what Rob said about the never give up mentality, I kind of feel like we wear that badge of honor, and we carry it with us when people come to us with statements, that are defeating statements, and we kind of hear it, and immediately we go, here goes the defeatist attitude, can't get it done. And if you think you can't get it done, then I know you can't get it done.
Right.
And it's upsetting to us.
I want to build on that, because you've taken the course communications model, you've added a lot to it. So you took also the concept of networking, built and business building to the next level with Hair of the Dog, which is a huge event that you run every January. You also take a big portion of those proceeds and give it back to the community, to various nonprofits. So Hair of the Dog, huge. But the other thing that you've become really, really focused on is this idea of sustainability and For River. So talk to us about that, because I think that's a key part of your strategy as an organization, not just as technology consultants and having expertise, but you have a huge interest in getting back into the community and serving, again, this greater population. So talk to me about why sustainability is important to you and what you're doing about it.
So let me frame it. 1995 all over again. Rob put the idea into my head about what's going on in the world, and I agreed with his vision, and I latched on, and I'll let Rob take it from there.
I mean, I'll talk to the forriver.org part, and then Dan, you could talk about the Hair of the Dog. So Gene, the reason why I started For River on Earth Day a year ago, around this time actually, was because I'm an outdoorsman. I have a massive respect for the environment. And when I was fishing the Delaware River, and of course the city of Philadelphia is flanked by two major rivers, the Schuylkill and the Delaware, I just could not believe the amount of plastic pollution that I saw in that river. So I'm fishing. I got pictures of fish coming out of the water with plastic bottles next to it. it just was wrong on many levels for me. So what I started doing is I started collecting. I put a bucket on the boat and I bought some nets. And me and my fishing buddy at the time, I'd say, we're cleaning up plastic today, man. You know what I mean? Fish ain't biting, we're cleaning up plastic. Even if they were biting, we end the day with a cleanup. So I saw some other companies doing this out there in the ocean. And I went on to GoDaddy, and in the coffee shop across the street, I literally took on the fourriver.org and I said, I'm gonna make something of this. And within 2 weeks, we had the website up. We had all kinds of sponsor kits available, et cetera, how companies can participate. Today, we can't do those cleanups because of the given circumstance, but we are educating. We are educating people out there. And for me, I just want people to know that what you consume on a daily basis in packaging and products doesn't go into some big black hole. People don't realize where it goes. The more you realize where it goes, the more you're going to pull back and do a low horsey and say, hey, how can I fix this? So it's a respect for the environment, Gene, that I have. I've been doing this since I was 10 years old. If I went fishing with my dad in the Catskill Mountains, upstate New York, and I saw a garden hose or a tire or whatever in the river, I'd pull it out. I'd carry it out with me. It's just something internally within me. I just can't allow that to happen to such a beautiful environment. That's what it's all about. But the message I have, the hope that I have for everybody, because, talking about the chorus scenario and where we were and my aha moment that I described for you, this is how I would translate that in an environmental and sustainability way. Look, you might think that you not buying a plastic bottle may not have no impact, right, for your water source. On the contrary, if we all did that, all of us, mothers, fathers, kids, from a consumption basis, if you stop buying it, so you refuse that product, it's going to have a greater exponential benefit. That's my message.
Okay, great. And Dan, I'd love for you to give a quick highlight of Hair of the Dog, and then we're going to wrap up our conversation with one final question.
Okay.
So why HOD? Why is it important to you? And tell us a little bit about the work that you've done as a result.
So in 1990, I went through a threshold in my life and got into Tony Robbins, believe it or not, and personal power. And I really bought into that concept that, someday everyone is going to draw their last breath on this planet. And how do you mark your life and make your imprint on the days that you spend on this planet worthwhile? And I really bought into that. And really everything that we do, whether it is as a father to my children, whether it's me exploring my DJing, my drumming, my guitar, my public speaking, my leadership in a business, sitting on a board of a charity or an affinity group, and the Hair of the Dog is no different. That life is to be experienced at a very passionate level. And that's where we came from with the Hair of the Dog. We started Chorus in 1995. We felt immediately that we wanted to have a party to celebrate, and pull all these people together. Our vision was to re-ring in New Year. That's why we came up with the Hair of the Dog. To re-ring in New Year, we thought we would drop the ball on a video screen. We never did that, by the way. And we're coming up on 27 years with that event, and we built a bit of a charitable element to it. It's all about that, lead by positive example and lead by action, 5% words and 95% action.
Okay, so last question for both of you. You're both tagged with mentoring somebody who wants to be an entrepreneur. What do you say? What do you do? How do you guide them? Rob, you go first.
Okay. My message, let's say if I was talking to a couple of young guys like my nephews at 17 years old, my message would be, guys, when you go out there into the workforce and you're looking to emulate and learn from people, I would suggest that they go to work for entrepreneurs, not for a big corporation. There are Why? Because there are skill sets that you learn from people like Dan and I and others that are entrepreneurs for small to mid-sized businesses, watching them in their daily activities, Gene, right? And how they assess business, because it's just a microcosm of a bigger entity, right? But you're learning firsthand how to run a business. And look, we're all of us here on this call, right? We're all descendants of immigrants to this country, aren't we? Mm-hmm. We have parents, cousins, relatives with little to no education, Gene, that have built successful, and I mean it by anyone's right, businesses that are powerful. So I would tell a young person, like, look, I'm not saying it's your complete end game, but learn through emulation of people that are at a grassroots level.
Love it. Dan, what would you say? What would be your top piece of advice? New entrepreneur wants to found a business.
I agree with Rob that I would heavily advise him to go. Rob and I always work for small privately held companies, AKA entrepreneurs. And when you work in that kind of an environment, you get to experience a can-do culture. Can do. That's what goes in the spirit of an entrepreneur. They have a can-do mentality. I would say to that person, if I could go back and give advice to any new person going into anything, I would say, find what you're passionate about. Spend the time to get down to the core of what it is that empowers you. What's your why? What's your purpose? And then try to align that with a company, whether it be environmental engineering, theatrical work, whatever it is, music production. If you find the job that you're passionate about, it's not work. I'm not bothered when somebody calls me with a work item on a Saturday or a Sunday. In fact, to tell you the truth, I don't even kind of realize that it's a Saturday or Sunday. I'm such a creature of habit. I look at my email, I respond.
That's great.
I'm passionate about what I do.
Well, I am so appreciative of both of you carving out time to share your story, share your wisdom, your advice. So much richness here. So I wish you both continued success. Looking forward to seeing what's next for you both and for Chorus. So be well.
Thank you, Gene. Be well. Stay safe.